Dragon Ball is a really, really big anime series, and I don't just mean in its popularity. I mean its entire universe. And that can be confusing to some Dragon Ball fans. One thing that I've noticed people ask is what's canon in Dragon Ball? Because now that Dragon Ball GT is considered non-canon and Dragon Ball Super is canon, Dragon Ball Super is a bit more tricky because there's different continuities to Dragon Ball Super. We have the Dragon Ball Super anime, and then we have the Dragon Ball Super manga, which have different events happen. So I've created this timeline to basically show how everything is somehow connected, sort of connected, so it pretty much eliminates anything being non-canon and basically separates it to being its own sort of thing, or continuity per se. So I want to start from the very beginning, which would be Dragon Ball. So off the bat, this is where the franchise begins. We have Dragon Ball. But while Dragon Ball was airing, 3 consecutive movies came out during its airing time. And I noticed while watching these movies, they're literally alternate timelines to this story. It starts like basically certain events that happens on the actual anime happens on these movies. So it's almost like a retelling, but with different villains and different outcomes. So these 3 movies are basically in their own separate continuity from the original Dragon Ball. And that includes the last movie that was based off of the original Dragon Ball story. Dragon Ball Way of the Strongest, or in America known as Dragon Ball The Path of Power. So this uses Dragon Ball GT animation, since it was done after GT, but it's Dragon Ball. And it's basically a retelling of Dragon Ball, just things are very altered. So this is in its own continuity. So returning back to the original Dragon Ball, we go down into time, and next we have Dragon Ball Z. Now Dragon Ball Z actually splits into a bunch of different continuities. So I want to start from moving to the left, and the timeline leads down, which is, I guess, indicates a later time. And this takes us down to Dragon Ball GT. So basically Dragon Ball, if you go forward in time but skip to a different timeline, that would give us the Dragon Ball GT timeline, which is later than Dragon Ball Z, but it isn't the same timeline since the manga ends there. So it's considered a different continuity. Now we can go back up to the Dragon Ball Z timeline and move a bit more to the left, past GT. And this is a different sequel that isn't GT, but happens in a time far more later than GT. And that brings us to Dragon Ball Online. So this timeline is basically a sequel to Dragon Ball Z, which goes far beyond GT, but the events of Dragon Ball GT doesn't happen here. So it's its own continuity. We deal with time breaker stuff like Toa and Mira. So it's sort of similar to this universe, but I'll get to that a bit later. So I'm gonna go back up to the Dragon Ball Z continuity, or the original Dragon Ball Z timeline, and it will lead us. I'm gonna go past it, and this is where we get the Dragon Ball Z movie continuity. So as you may know, the Dragon Ball Z movies are different from Dragon Ball Z. They don't fit into the main timeline. Some stuff carries over, like the 2 Cooler movies or the 3 Broly movies. So the movie continuity is just completely different. And next, if we break off from the movie continuity, we go a bit lower, but stay on the Dragon Ball Z. This splits from Dragon Ball Z. We have Dragon Ball Z The Real 4D. This takes place like right before the Cell games. Although Goku has electricity around him, that's not Super Saiyan 2. On this movie, his max transformation was Super Saiyan 1. And basically what happens here is Frieza is resurrected, but he's more stronger than before, so Goku and the gang have to take him out. Bulma's actually wearing her Namek Saga outfit, so it's a bit weird. But this does take place around the Android Saga / Cell Saga. So if you want to go later from here, basically a lot of time passes. I mean, a lot of time in this continuity. I guess it's safe to say they reach Super, but it still has a Dragon Ball Z name to it. And here we have the Dragon Ball Z Super Tenkaichi Budokai, where they face Broly God. So in this event, Goku and Vegeta both have their Super Saiyan Blue transformations, and they're facing off against Broly, who actually has they don't really explain how, but he finds a way to tap into God Ki, and he gets this new transformation, which is Broly God. Very terrifying concept. Jeez. I remember when this first came out. Never came to America, but just hearing about it is pretty terrifying. Broly with God Ki and his own legendary Super Saiyan God transformation. That's basically what it is. On this, Goku and Vegeta fight against Broly with their Super Saiyan Blue forms. They get bodied. And Goku, basically, since it's a 4D ride, Goku ends up fusing with the audience, and they become this weird fusion, and they body Broly. This takes place in between the Universe 6 arc and the Goku or Future Trunks arc. Let's say Goku Black. So we could go back up to the Dragon Ball Z continuity, and we're gonna go lower. And here we have Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods and Dragon Ball Z Resurrection F, since that happens at a later time, but it's still considered Dragon Ball Z. Here we have Goku face off against Beerus, the God of Destruction, and later Frieza, which is with his new golden form. These two stories were retold in Dragon Ball Super anime and the Dragon Ball Super manga. So first I want to start with the Dragon Ball Super anime, okay? So we have the basically this retells Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods and Resurrection F, but the events are slightly altered or different. I'm just gonna leave it at that. I guess I can explain. So let's start with Battle of Gods. We have Bulma's birthday party, which happens at the Capsule Corporation on Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods. On Dragon Ball Super, this happens on a cruise ship. Also on Dragon Ball Super, Goku and Beerus' battle was way more longer and fleshed out. They fought in way more locations, and they fought in space far more longer. They actually shook the universe on the Dragon Ball Super version, which is something that they didn't do on Dragon Ball Z. Then we could go to Frieza. Ginyu actually appears on Dragon Ball Super, which he doesn't appear on Resurrection F. So if we want to go down later on the Dragon Ball Super continuity timeline, we have the battle between Goku and Hit during the Universe 7 vs 6 tournament, or the Champa arc. Here Goku accesses Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken against Hit for the first time, and yeah, that was very awesome. Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken. He actually goes as far as Super Saiyan Blue times 10. So that was very special. So let's go down the timeline a bit more. Here we have the Future Trunks arc, where they fight Goku Black and Zamasu, who later fuse into Merge Zamasu or Fuse Zamasu, and who later corrupts into this half gooey blob thingy, in which Goku and Vegeta fuse into Vegito to take him out. Later we have the Universe Survival arc, the Tournament of Power, and the events happen. You guys already know what happens here. Goku reaches Ultra Instinct and fights against Jiren. And later down the line, we have Dragon Ball Super Broly. Now, there's a reason why this curve is right here, which I will explain in a minute. So I'm going to go all the way back up to the Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods and Resurrection F, and move to the right to the Dragon Ball Super manga continuity. So the Beerus fight was a bit faster in the Dragon Ball Super manga, and the Frieza arc was skipped. We can only assume that the events happen the same as the Dragon Ball Z movie, or most likely a Dragon Ball Z movie. So we're gonna go lower, and we're gonna have the Dragon Ball Super manga version of the Universe 7 versus Universe 6 tournament, which the events were different. Goku actually uses Super Saiyan God and then Super Saiyan Blue, but does not access Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken. So the events that happen here are different. So later we go down and we have the Future Trunks arc. Again, the events here that happen here are different. So instead of us getting a corrupted Zamasu actually stays in his merged form. When his fusion malfunctions, it actually happens a bit differently. Goku actually, instead of using Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken, he uses a perfected version of Super Saiyan Blue, which is something that the anime didn't cover. Very interesting. Actually gives Zamasu a run for his money, so it has to be pretty powerful. Instead of getting the infinite Zamasu that we got on a Dragon Ball Super anime, we get a whole bunch of Zamasu clones. But the end result is the same. Zeno erases all the universes in that timeline. Not this Dragon Ball Super manga timeline. I mean the Future Trunks timeline, just to clarify. So later into this continuity, we have the Tournament of Power arc in the Dragon Ball Super manga. Looks like I fucked up with the logo. I can fix that later though. I'll just cut that out. The yellow right there. Yeah, the whole thing was supposed to be gray. But no big, it's just this video. So the events that happen here are a bit different, since the tournament was way more longer than the anime than it was in the manga, since in the manga version, Cal just eliminated a bunch of universes. The Ultra Instinct still happens, but it happens a bit differently. And then last but not least, we go to Dragon Ball Super Broly. Now, the reason why I have these, both the Dragon Ball Super anime and manga going into the same entry of Dragon Ball Super Broly, is because basically they both happen, both events lead up to this. They both happen the same in both anime and manga. They both lead up to this, and the movie counts as the anime and the manga timeline. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I didn't add what Dragon Ball Super manga is up to right now with the Planet Eater Moro, because I wanted to wait for the anime to cover that. So yeah, basically Dragon Ball Super Broly is the end game, and there's actually more. This isn't it. So we covered the main continuity, which is Dragon Ball Super. I put Dragon Ball Super in the middle because, you know, it still connects to Dragon Ball Z. If I made this years ago, like around in freaking, I don't think I was smart enough to even come up with something back then. But let's say someone made this years ago, Dragon Ball GT would be in the middle where Dragon Ball Super is right now. But right now, Dragon Ball Super is considered the main continuity, but these are still existing, you can say. So non-canon isn't a word I would use. And then outside of this timeline, we have the Dragon Ball Xenoverse continuity, which also has time breakers, but the Dragon Ball Xenoverse can basically interact with everything I've just spoke about. It interacts with all of that, so things can alter, and not all happens here. So this is outside of everything, since, you know. Same with Super Dragon Ball Heroes. That I think Dragon Ball Heroes didn't really start storytelling until Super Dragon Ball Heroes, but it's similar to Xenoverse 2. As you can see, we have these two Gokus fighting each other. This is from the Dragon Ball Super continuity, but it's outside from the main Dragon Ball Super timeline. So this Dragon Ball Super Goku is not the same that we saw fighting the Tournament of Power. Although the events did happen to this Goku, the Goku that we saw didn't fight his counterpart. He went straight to Broly. This Goku actually got to fight Super Saiyan 4 Goku. So I know it's confusing, but you know. So anything can happen. This new Goku, he's Heroes. Alright, so this can interact with Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, GT, Super. So yeah guys, that's pretty much the timeline. Start from Dragon Ball, it has its own movie continuity, goes down to Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball Z has its own movie continuity. You can split Dragon Ball Z to Dragon Ball GT, or split it down even further to Dragon Ball Online. Then if you want to go to another side of the Dragon Ball Z timeline, we have the movie continuity, or we can even split that off to the real 4D events, which was the 4D one and the Broly God. If you want to even go even lower from Dragon Ball Z, we have the Battle of Gods arc and the Dragon Ball Z Resurrection F movie, which we can split those off to the Dragon Ball Super anime continuity and the manga continuity, with both leads up to the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie. And outside of this whole timeline, we have Dragon Ball Xenoverse and the Super Dragon Ball Heroes continuity. Confusing, yes, but I hope it makes sense. So yeah guys, sorry if I stuttered a lot. This was not scripted, I just wanted to freaking talk. I was actually getting a bit confused myself as I was talking. This took a while to make, and this is a ridiculously long image file, so I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to upload this online. I'm going to try after the video. I will develop this further. I'm going to basically, as Dragon Ball goes on, I'm going to try to, you know, lengthening this timeline, and it's an ever-growing project. So this is actually something I came up with last week. I started this, so I literally just finished this right now. It took me like an entire week because I had other stuff to do, but eventually I got to it. This could be wrong. Alright, if it is, for any of you Dragon Ball enthusiasts out there, let me know, because there are people that are way more smarter than me when it comes to this sort of stuff. But I think for the most part, I think it's pretty good. If it is wrong, let me know and I'll fix it. This is a basically an ongoing project that as long as Dragon Ball goes on, this will go on. So this won't ever end as long as Dragon Ball keeps on going, or unless something happens to me and I end up exploding, which I'm sure if this gets famous enough, someone will continue it in my stead. Anyway, let's not leave this off on a negative note. Fucking exploding. Anyway, guys, so yeah, this is my Dragon Ball timeline. Nothing is non-canon. Everything is basically their own thing. Sort of like Marvel. So yeah, guys, if you guys enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe for more content like this. And I'll see you guys in the next Dragon Ball video. Peace.